Hello, everyone. It filled my heart so much to hear how many of you guys were really enjoying the book Wonder when we were talking our Zoom meeting today. So I definitely want to try to read it a couple times a week. I'll do the best I can. It takes a little bit of time, but I'm really glad you guys are enjoying it. And I even had one person say it's giving them confidence, and that you have no idea what that means to my heart. It fills my heart to hear that. So we are still on Via's perspective. And one of the things, that Via was saying when we finished up on Monday is that, Augie's not normal. Once again, I put in quotes because, normal is different people's interpretation. But at the same time, she's dealing with her own challenges. Even though she's not the one who has the deformity, as they would say, she's still dealing with her own challenges. So, let's hear what Via has to say. What I almost always loved about middle school was that it was separate and different from home. I could go there and be Olivia Pullman, not Via, which was my name at home. Via is what they called me in elementary school too, and back then everyone knew all about us, of course. Mom used to pick me up after school, and August was always in the stroller. There weren't a lot of people who were equipped to babysit for Augie, so Mom and Dad brought him to all my plays and concerts and recitals, all the school functions and the bake sales and the book fairs. My friends knew him. My friends' parents knew him. My teachers knew him. The janitor knew him. August was something of a fixture at PS 22. But in middle school, a lot of people didn't know about August. My old friends did, of course, but my new friends didn't. Or if they knew, it wasn't necessarily the first thing they knew about me. Maybe it was the second or the third they'd hear about me. Olivia, yeah, she's nice. Did you hear she has a brother who's deformed? I always hated that word, but I knew it was how people described Augie. And I knew those kinds of conversations probably happened all the time out of earshot. Every time I left the room at a party or bumped into a group of friends at the pizza place. And that's okay. I'm always going to be the sister of a kid with a birth defect. That's not the issue. I just don't always want to be defined that way. The best thing about high school is that hardly anybody knows me at all, except for Miranda and Ella, of course. And they know not to go talking about it. Miranda and Ella and I have known each other since the first grade. What's so nice is we never had to explain things to one another. When I decided I wanted them to call me Olivia instead of Via, they got it without me having to explain. They've known August since he was a little baby. When we were little, our favorite thing to do was play dress up with Augie. Load him up with feather boas and big hats and Hannah Montana wigs. He used to love it, of course. We thought he was adorably cute in his own way. Ella said he reminded her of E.T. She didn't mean it to be mean, of course, though maybe it was a little mean now that I think about it. The truth is, there's a scene in the movie when the little girl dresses E.T. in a blonde wig, and that was a ringer for Augie in our Miley Cyrus heyday. Throughout middle school, Miranda and Ella and I were pretty much in our own little group. Somewhere between super popular and well liked, not brainy, not jocks, not rich, not mean, not goody goody. I don't know if the three of us found each other because we were so alike in so many ways, or that because we found each other, we become alike in so many ways. We were so happy when we all got into the same high school. It was such a long shot that all three of us would be accepted, especially when no one else from our middle school was. I remember how we screamed into the phones the day we got our acceptance letters. This is why I haven't understood what's been going on with us lately. Now that we're actually in high school, it's nothing how I thought it would be. Out of the three of us, Miranda has always been the sweetest to August, hugging him and playing with him long after Ella and I moved to play something else. Even as we got older, Miranda always used to try to include Augie in our conversations, ask him how he was doing, talk to him about Avatar or Star Wars or Bone or something she knew he liked. It was Miranda who had given Augie the astronaut helmet he wore practically every day of the year when he was 5 or 6. She would call him Major Tom, and they would sing Space Odyssey by David Bowie together. It was their little thing. They knew all the words and would blast it on the iPod and sing the song really loud. Since Miranda's always been good about calling us as soon as she gets home from summer camp, I was a little surprised when I didn't hear from her. I even texted her and she didn't reply. I figured maybe she'd ended up staying in camp longer now that she was a counselor. Then I realized from her Facebook that she'd actually been back home for a full 2 weeks. So I sent her an IM and we chatted online a bit, but she didn't give me a reason for not calling, which I thought was bizarre. Miranda had always been a little weird, but I figured that's all it was. We had plans to meet downtown, but then I had to cancel because we were driving out to see my grandma and grandpa for the weekend. So I ended up not seeing Miranda or Ella until the first day of school. And I have to admit, I was shocked. Miranda looked so different. Her hair was cut in this super short bob, and she had dyed it pink. And she was wearing this striped shirt that was way inappropriate for school and was totally not her style. Miranda had always been so different about clothes and all pink haired and looked different. It was like she was a whole different person. And she was acting differently too. I can't say she wasn't nice because she was, but she seemed like kind of distant, like I was just a casual friend. It was the weirdest thing in the world. At lunch, the three of us sat together like we always used to, but the dynamics had shifted. It was obvious to me that Ella and Miranda had gotten together a few times in the summer without me, though they never actually said that. I pretended not to be all upset while we talked, so I could feel my face getting hot. So my smile being fake. Although Ella wasn't over the top as Miranda, I noticed a change in her usual style too. It was like they had talked beforehand about redoing their image at the new school, but hadn't bothered to clue me in. I admit I had always thought I was above this kind of typical teenage pettiness, but I felt a lump in my throat throughout lunch, and my voice quivered as I said, "See you later," when the bell rang. "I hear we're driving you home today," one day, Miranda told me in 8th period. She had just sat down at the desk right behind me. I had forgotten that Mom had called Miranda's mother the night before to ask if she could drive me home from school. You don't have to," I answered instinctively. "My mom can pick me up." I thought she had to pick up Augie or something. "It turns out she can pick me up afterward. She just texted me. It's not a problem." "Oh, okay. Thanks, though." It was all a lie on my part, but I couldn't cease sitting in a car with this new Miranda. And after school, I ducked into a restroom to avoid bumping into Miranda's mother outside. Half an hour later, I walked out of the school, ran the 3 blocks to the bus stop, hopped on the M86 to Central Park West, and took the subway home. "Hey there, sweetie," Mom said the moment I stepped through the front door. "How was your first day? I was starting to wonder where you guys were." "We stopped for pizza." It was incredible how easily a lie can slip through my lips, I thought. "Is Miranda not with you?" She seemed surprised that Miranda wasn't right behind me. "She went straight home. We have a lot of homework." "On your first day?" "Yes, on our first day," I yelled, which completely surprised Mom. But before she could say anything, I said, "School's fine. It's really big, though. The kids seem nice." I wanted to give her enough information so she wouldn't feel the need to ask me more. "How was Augie's first day of school?" I said. Mom hesitated. "Okay," she said slowly, like she was letting out a breath. "What do you mean, okay?" I said. "Was it good or was it bad?" "He said it was good." "So why don't you think it was good?" "I didn't say it wasn't good. Geez, Via, what's up with you?" "Just forget I asked anything at all," I answered and stormed dramatically into Augie's room and slammed the door. He was on his PlayStation and didn't even look up. I hated how zombified those video games made him. "So, how was school?" I said, scooching Daisy over so I could sit on his bed next to him. "Fine," he answered, not really looking up from his game. "Augie, I'm talking to you." And I pulled the PlayStation remote out of his hands. "Hey," he said angrily. "How was school?" "It was fine," I said, he yelled, grabbing the controller back. "Were people nice to you?" I said. "Yes." "No one was mean?" He put the PlayStation down and looked up at me as if I had just asked the dumbest question in the world. "Why would people be mean?" he said. It was the first time in his life that I heard him be sarcastic like that. I didn't think he had it in him. I'm not sure at what point that night Augie had cut off his Padawan braid or why that it made me really mad. I had always found his obsession with everything Star Wars kind of geeky. And that braid in the back of his hair with its little beads was just awful. But he had always been so proud of how long it took him to grow it, of how he had chosen the beads himself in a craft store in Soho. He and Christopher, his best friend, used to play with lightsabers and Star Wars stuff whenever they got together. And they had just started growing their braids at the same time. When August cut his braid off that night without an explanation, without telling me beforehand, which was surprising, or even calling Christopher, I was just so upset. I can't even explain why. I've seen Augie brushing his hair in the bathroom mirror. He meticulously tries to get every hair in place. He tilts his head to look at himself from different angles like there's some magic perspective inside the mirror that could change the way his face looks. Mom knocked on the door after dinner. She looked drained, and I realized that between me and Augie, today had been a tough day for her too. "So, you want to tell me what's up?" she asked nicely and softly. "Not now, okay?" I answered. I was reading. I was tired. Maybe later I'd be up to telling her about Miranda, but not now. "I'll check in on you before you go to bed," she said, and then she came over and kissed me on the top of my head. "Can Daisy sleep with me tonight?" "Sure, I'll bring her in later." "Don't forget to come back," I said as she left. "I promise." But she didn't come back that night. Dad did. He told me Augie had had a bad first day and Mom was helping him through it. He asked me how my day had gone and I told him fine. He said he didn't believe me for a second and I told him Miranda and Ella were acting like jerks. I didn't mention how I took the subway home by myself. He said nothing tests friendships like high school and then proceeded to poke fun at the fact I was reading a book called War and Peace. Not real fun, of course, but I had heard him brag to people that I read books like that, even though I'm only 15 years old. But he liked to tease me about it. He'd say, "Are you in the war part or the peace part?" And if there was anything in there about Napoleon's days as a hip-hop dancer. Just silly stuff. Dad always managed to make everyone laugh. "Don't be mad at Mom," he said, and he bent down to say goodnight. "You know how much she worries about Augie." "I know," I acknowledged. "Want the light on or off? It's getting kind of late," he said, pausing by the light switch at the door. "Can you bring Daisy in first?" 2 seconds later, he came back with Daisy dangling from his arms, and he laid her down next to me on my bed. "Good night, sweetheart. Good night, girlie. Sweet dreams," he said, and he left. One time when I was younger, I got up in the middle of the night. I was thirsty, and I saw Mom standing outside of Augie's room. Her hand was on the doorknob, her forehead leaning on the door, which was open a little bit. She wasn't going in his room or stepping out, just standing right outside the door, as if she was listening to the sound of his breathing as he slept. The hallway lights were out. The only thing making the hallway light was the blue nightlight in Augie's bedroom. She looked ghost-like standing there, or maybe I should say angelic. I tried to walk into my room without disturbing her, but she heard me and walked over to me. "Is Augie okay?" I asked. I knew that sometimes he would wake up choking on his spit if he accidentally turned over on his back. "Oh, he's fine," she said, wrapping her arms around me. She walked back into my room, pulled the covers over me, and kissed me goodnight. She never explained what she was doing outside his door. I never asked. I wondered how many nights she stood outside his door. And I wondered if she had ever stood outside my door just like that. The next day at breakfast, I said, "Can you pick me up from school today?" as I was putting cream cheese on my bagel. Mom was making August lunch. American cheese on whole wheat bread, soft enough for Augie to eat, while Augie sat eating oatmeal at the table. Dad was getting ready to go to work. Now that I was in high school, the new school routine was going to be that Dad and I would take the subway together in the morning, which meant his having to leave 15 minutes earlier than usual, and then I'd get off at my stop and he'd keep going. And Mom was going to pick me up after school in the car. "I was going to call Miranda's mother to see if she could drive you home again," Mom answered. "No, Mom," I said quickly. "You pick me up or I'll just take the subway." "You know I don't want you taking the subway by yourself yet," she answered. Mom, I'm 15. Everybody my age takes the subway by themselves. She can take the subway home, said Dad. She'll be fine. Why can't Miranda's mother just pick you up again? Mom said. She's old enough to take the subway by herself, Dad insisted. Mom looked at both of us. Is something going on? She didn't address her question to either one of us in particular. You would know if you had come back to check on me last night like you said you would, I told her. Oh, God, said Mom, remembering how she had completely ditched me last night. She put down the knife she was using to cut Augie's grapes in half. I'm sorry, I fell asleep in Augie's room by the time I woke up. I know, I nodded indifferently. Mom came over and put her hand on my cheeks and lifted her face so I could look at her, my face so I could look at her. I'm really, really sorry, she whispered, and I could tell she was. It's okay, I said. Mom, it's fine. This time I meant it. She looked so genuinely sorry, I just wanted to let her off the hook. She gave me a huge hug. So is something going on with Miranda, she asked. She's just acting like a complete jerk, I said. Miranda's not a jerk, Augie quickly chimed in. She can be, I yelled, believe me. Okay then, I'll pick you up, no problem, Mom said. That was the plan all along anyway. I'll pick up Augie from school in the car and then we'll pick you up. We'll probably get there around 3:45. No, I said firmly, even before she finished. Isabel, she can take the subway, said Dad impatiently. She's a big girl now. She's reading books like War and Peace. What does the book she read have to do with anything? Answered Mom, clearly annoyed. It means you don't have to pick her up in the car like she's a little girl, he said sternly. Via, are you ready? Get your bag and let's go. I'm ready, I said, pulling on my backpack. Bye, Mom. Bye, Augie. I gave them both quick hugs. Do you even have a Metro card? Mom said after me. Of course she has a Metro card, answered Dad, fully exasperated. Ugh, stop worrying so much. Bye. Bye, August. I'm proud of you. Have a good day, he said. Bye, Dad. You too, yelled August. And Dad and I jogged down the stoop stairs and headed down the block. Call me after school before you get on the subway, Mom yelled out the window. Isabel, she'll be fine. Stop worrying, Dad yelled as we quickly ran down the street. If I have children, there's a 1 in 2 chance that I will pass on a defect like August has. That means they'll either look like August or they'll look like me. It is kind of crazy to think that that could happen. And that only explains part of what happened to August. There's this other part of what happened in something called his genetics that's not even inherited. It's just bad luck. Countless doctors have tried little grids for my parents over the years to try to explain how rare it is that this happened to him. But for all they know, there's just more they don't know. They can try to forecast and figure out what happened, but really there's just nothing they can do to figure it out. I like the sound of the science. It makes it feel like, these are things that we could figure out. But regardless, there's just no way to figure out why Augie was born like he was. Miranda and Ella blasted off. They attached themselves to a new crowd destined for high school glory. After a week of painful lunches where all we would do is talk about people that didn't interest me, I decided to just make a clean break for it. They asked no questions. I told no lies. We just went our separate ways. I didn't even mind after a while. I stopped going to lunch for about a week to make the transition easier to avoid the fake, oh shoot, there's no room for you at the table, Olivia. It was just easier to go and read in the library. I finally finished my book, War and Peace, and it was amazing. People think it's such a hard read, but it's really just a beautiful story with lots of characters, people following love, fighting for love, dying for love. I want to be in love like that someday. I want my husband to love me the way Prince Andre loved Natasha. I ended up hanging out with a girl named Eleanor, who I'd known from my days at PS22, though we'd gone to different middle schools. Eleanor had always been a really smart girl. A little bit of a crybaby back then, but nice. I never realized how funny she was, and she never knew how lighthearted I could be. Eleanor had always been under the impression that I was very serious, and it turns out she never liked Miranda and Ella. She thought they were stuck up. I gained entry through Eleanor to the smart kids table at lunch. It was a larger group than I'd ever hung out with and had a lot of different people. It included Eleanor's boyfriend, Kevin, who would definitely become class president someday, a few techie guys, girls like Eleanor who were members of the yearbook committee and the debate club, and a quiet guy named Justin, who I immediately thought was awesome. When I'd see Ella and Miranda, who were now hanging out with the super popular set, we'd say, hey, what's up, and move on. Occasionally, Miranda would ask me how August is doing, and tell him I'd say hello. This I never did, not to spite Miranda, but because August was in his own world these days. There were times at home we never even crossed paths.